Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex Council meeting for March 18th. I would call this meeting to order at this time. It is with great respect that we acknowledge the land that we are gathered upon here today as the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape peoples. It is through connection with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Thank you. At this time, just before we start, I would like to take a second to congratulate Kristen Wilson, who's with us here. Throw your hand up or stand up, please, Kristen. Kristen has just passed her drainage superintendent course. So, and I would let you know that she also did get a shout out from OMAFRA on this. And so congratulations, Kristen. Okay, disclosure of pecuniary interest. See, if you have any, please forward it to the clerk. I believe we do have one consideration, and that is in closed session on the second item from Councillor. And so minutes of the previous meeting from March the 4th, our regular council meeting, any errors or omissions, business arising? Seeing none, a motion to approve. Councillor Daigle, Councillor Nerda, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Public meeting including committee of adjustment. We need to go into our committee of adjustment. Councillor Daigle, Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, the first item is notice of public meeting to consider application MV 02-2026 located at 181 to 185 King Street, Park Hill. And Ashley, do we have anyone here?
I believe the applicant is online and there are applicants in the gallery as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Would that applicant like to come forward?
Yes, I'm here.
We have an applicant online, so go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. So this minor variance is for 181 to 185 Park Hill King Street, which is located just west of Park Hill Main Street, also known as County Road number 81, and on the south side of Park Hill King Street. The property is locally known as the former location of Damon Optimal Health and is just across from the municipal office. The property is approximately 0.13 acres in size, and surrounding uses are predominantly residential, commercial, and institutional in nature. Driveway access is currently provided from Park Hill Main Street that leads to a parking area at the rear of the structure. The property is currently designated in the official plan as a special policy area that specifically applies to Park Hill King Street, and it is zoned as site-specific Central Commercial Exception 1 zone. The applicable policies are outlined in detail in my report, so I'm not going to reiterate them verbatim. However, I would note that generally speaking, intensification and redevelopment in the central areas such as Park Hill King Street and Park Hill Main Street is encouraged in principle, provided that items such as parking, servicing, density, etc. are all adequately addressed. Currently, the structure on the property contains ground floor commercial and 3 apartment units. So I'm just going to pull up some site photos that I took here to give some additional context. So the owner is proposing to renovate the interior of the structure to remove the commercial space and reconfigure the existing apartment spaces to provide a total of 10 units. All alterations will be within the existing footprint of the building already, meaning no additions are proposed at this point in time. So I did also provide a table in my report detailing unit types and proposed square footage. So 2 bachelor units are proposed, 5 one-bedroom units, 2 two-bedroom units, and a 1 two-bedroom unit plus den. They all range in size from approximately 200 square feet for the bachelor units up to approximately 870 square feet for the 2-bedroom units. And the majority of the units are within the 350 square feet to 550 square feet range. So relief is required from 5 sections of the zoning bylaw. I would just note that 2 of these sections are just identifying existing conditions and there is no proposed change. So this is for the driveway aisle width to be maintained as existing in the rear of the structure, and for the driveway separation from an abutting lot to be maintained as existing. So these 2 variances are largely technical in nature. The 3 variances that are not related to existing conditions on the site, but are required to increase the number of residential dwelling units include a request for parking space reduction from 14 to 6, with 8 deficient spaces proposed to provide cash in lieu to the municipality. to waive the requirement for an amenity area with the housekeeping amendment that we just completed at the beginning of the year in the municipality. We did recently include the provision to require amenity space if your unit is more than, if your building has more than 4 units within it. And density also requires relief. So currently for the residential apartment building density in the bylaw, the maximum is 25 units per gross hectare. As it exists today, the property has 57.14 units per gross hectare, so it does already exceed what is permitted. And the proposal would bring the maximum density per gross hectare up to 190 units. I would just note, as it pertains to density, these numbers can sound quite high at first glance. However, this way of measuring density is somewhat outdated in modern planning practice, and today the emphasis is generally not placed on the number alone and more so on how the development will actually function, its compatibility, and so on. So the application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. Comments received are outlined in detail in my report, as well as the attachments to the agenda. The Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority, Bell Canada, Integris, the Lake Huron and Elgin Area Water Supply System, the Middlesex County Engineer, and the municipality's drainage superintendent noted no concerns. County Emergency Services did note that if approved, 911 addressing must be confirmed and posted to their satisfaction, which is a standard condition. And the chief building official did note that a building permit would be required for any works on the structure. The municipality's Director of Infrastructure and Operations noted that generally he's in favor of a cash in lieu parking agreement due to existing conditions, site constraints, and lack of other feasible options within close proximity. Additionally, grading and servicing drawings prepared by a qualified professional would be required to confirm adequacy prior to any works occurring. Significant concerns were noted by the municipality's bylaw enforcement with respect to the adequacy of on-site parking. They're not currently supportive of a cash in lieu parking agreement with the municipality as an appropriate alternative to providing on-site parking at this time, as they expect it will exacerbate existing parking pressures in the area. In terms of public comments, 4 letters of opposition were received, and they were attached to the agenda for the committee to review in advance of this evening. They largely noted similar concerns, so I summarized them into some key themes in my report. One being the increase in density, utilization of a shared stairway space, the potential associated for an increase in noise and liability, insufficient parking, bylaw enforcement, property values, lack of amenity space, encroachments onto municipal property, size of the units, waste and recycling, emergency access, and commercial viability. The applicant also did provide some follow-up to address these comments, which was also attached to the agenda. No additional written comments were received prior to the submission of my report and the agenda being published, but we are, however, here this evening to hear verbal feedback and also take that into consideration. So staff are not currently in a position to provide a detailed analysis on the application and are recommending the feedback from agencies and the public be received and given additional time for consideration prior to recommending a decision to the committee. Staff recognize that the residential conversion of the existing building is permitted in principle and supports broader provincial and official plan objectives, which encourage intensification within settlement areas, but note that the current proposal raises concerns related to parking, livability, and functionality of the proposed units, and a deferral will allow the applicant the opportunity to explore some other parking options, provide further justification for the density, and clarify amenity space, etc. So that being said, staff are recommending that the application be deferred this evening, and we're certainly here to hear any public feedback as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. At this time, I would offer to the applicant for your remarks, sir.
Yes, hi there. Good evening, Chair and committee members there. My name is Henry Rojas. I'm the applicant designer for the 181 to 185 King Street. I'm representing the owners as well, Stephanie and Craig, who are here in person today to answer any other questions. We do appreciate the feedback we've been receiving from the neighborhood, and we do plan to discuss this a little bit further with potential revisions. Based on the planning staff report and internal discussions we've had, we are requesting that the application be deferred to a later date.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have received, as you comment, that a few written applications, but also at this time, allow for public for input. Anyone who'd like to speak on this application? If they want to come forward, and if you do, then please just give your name when you come up. Oh, there you go.
Good evening. Thank you. And for you, Mayor, right? Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening regarding the minor variance MV2 to 2026 for 181 to 185 Park Hill King Street in Park Hill. My name is Tammy McGuire. I'm a longtime resident of Park Hill, and I also happen to live at 181 Park Hill King Street here in Park Hill, right across the road. I'm here to express my strong opposition to the variance on behalf of my family and as a concerned resident of this community. We understand that North Middlesex wants to grow, and we support thoughtful, reasonable development that adds to the vitality of our downtown and provides safe, affordable housing for our residents. The existing King Street apartments are providing lower incomes families with a stable and safe place to live, and it's something that we truly value and want to see continue. However, this proposal to reconfigure the building from 3 residential units plus a commercial space to 10 residential units raises serious concerns for us. First, as mentioned, parking is already a challenge in this area. The application acknowledges that only 6 parking spaces will be provided where 14 are required, and the rest to be addressed through cash in lieu. On a day-to-day basis, this does not solve the problem for neighbors who must live with increased congestion, vehicles circling for spots, and spillover onto nearby streets and private properties. We are worried that the practical impact will be more traffic, more conflict over parking, and less safety for the kids walking and biking in the neighborhood. Second, the proposed density is far beyond what is normally allowed. The notice shows an increase from 25 units per gross hectare to 190 per gross hectare, which is more than 7 times the maximum permitted. That level of intensification and such on a small site is not minor from the perspective of the families who live there and nearby. It risks changing the character of this part of Park Hill from a small, close-knit, family-oriented area into something more crowded and transient. Our goal, obviously, is not to block development, but to ask that growth be balanced with livability, safety, and long-term well-being of North Middlesex residents. We want this community to remain family-oriented, where our kids feel safe, have room to roam, and where neighbors know each other and take pride in their surroundings. A 10-unit building on this constrained site with insufficient parking, no amenity space, and a very high density puts that vision at risk. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that the committee and council to refuse this minor variance application as currently proposed and to work with the owner on a more appropriate scale of redevelopment that meets reasonable parking requirements or truly mitigates parking impacts, provides some amenity space or design features that support families and long-term residents, maintain a better balance between the residential and commercial uses downtown. Thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you for your time in considering the concerns of the local residents as you make your decision.
Thank you. Others, are there other in the public that would like to speak? Seeing no other people going forward, I'll turn it over to the committee for comments, questions. Go ahead, Councillor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ashley, this question is for you. How much of this unit is going to be remaining as commercial?
Thank you through Chair Ropp. So there's special policy in effect on Park Hill King Street would not maintain any commercial space. So currently it's proposed to remove the commercial in its entirety, but your official plan policies do permit for that as they stand.
Okay, thank you. I just have one more.
Follow up.
This is for the applicant. So generally I'm supportive of adding more units, but here it's what concerns me is the parking or lack thereof. Have you ever thought about reducing the amount of units to satisfy the parking requirements? My fear is that the parking is going to spill over onto our King Street, our Main Street, and cause significant congestion. So what are your thoughts on maybe reducing the number of units?
Yes, and we have discussed this with the owners in the last few days since we've had the report there. We are looking into reducing the number of units. At the moment, we are thinking about reducing it from the 10 original units that we had to the 8 units by removing the 2 bachelors or combining them into 1 unit. It's still up for discussion there from reducing from 10 to 8, removing the 2 bachelors, or 10 to 9 and combining the 2 bachelors in order to reduce the parking and meet the desirable livable space as stated by the community and by the report.
So as it stands, though, you still are seeking only 6 spots for parking for an 8-unit addition. What about friends, family, guests that the residents have you took that into consideration?
We did at the moment. We did at the time. We did look into the whole situation where we would have visitors and such. And to be quite honest, it is a little bit working within the existing conditions of this area where there isn't sufficient parking spaces. There was a statement in the planning report where it did mention we should reach out to the public in the neighborhood for additional parking spaces, and we do plan to take the advice there and into the next application.
Okay, so just for a comment, you know, as it stands, I think this proposal is poor planning. Thanks.
Other comments from the committee? Councillor Canellison?
Thank you. And my comment is for the applicant as well. I am pleased to hear that you intend to reduce the number of units, and by removing the 2 bachelor units, the 200 square feet, I think is minimal for any person to survive in. I was looking at your plans and I was questioning where the bed would even be in those particular units. So in your revised plan, do you intend to set a limit of, say, a minimum of 350 or 400 square feet per unit, or what is your intention there?
Yes, at the moment we are leaning towards more of combining the space for an amenity rather than a unit. So the new development or new application would have a residential, and this combined space of the 2 bachelors would be a combined amenity space.
I have a follow-up question for you. Is there a requirement to have a certain number of units to qualify for any grants?
Not that we were seeking at the moment, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Councillor Irwin?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, and just a clarification, deferral of the application this evening would allow for additional future comment by the public, am I correct?
Sorry, go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you through Chair Ropp. So if any members of the public have additional comments to provide, we're certainly happy to hear them and take them into consideration. This evening is just for the statutory public hearing, and any feedback we receive, we will take into account before coming back to the committee.
Okay, so the comments that we'd made would not be in an open meeting. It would just be comments to send forward?
Correct, yes. I do believe with the submissions we have already, they've pretty much covered every base that I could think of, but certainly if anyone in the public wishes to provide additional comments following this meeting, we're certainly happy to hear them.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Irwin, anything else?
I have a question on the, Your Worship, through you, on the structural viability of this building. What would be that viability if nothing occurred? Is there an issue with the lifespan of this building if renovations didn't occur?
So I
Not
think-
the, oh, sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I
No,
didn't
you-
have my
Go ahead.
thing on here. Did you hear me? I can repeat the question.
Did
My
you hear-
question was on the structural viability of the building. If renovations did not occur, what would be the lifespan of the building? Is there a structural issue with it as it stands?
So you're addressing that question to myself, right, the applicant?
Yourself or anyone else who wish to comment on the staff side, sir?
Okay, I guess I'll go first then at that point. At the moment, there is no conditions or issues that we see on site at the moment. Of course, a lot of the areas were covered up, and so we unfortunately are unable to tell if there's any structural issues at the moment without doing a demolition permit.
Okay. Other questions from the committee? Councillor Daigle, then Councillor Keel.
Thank you to the developer. The parking spaces are a really big stop. We've been having complaints on this road for parking already. You're offering to put in a certain number of units with only 6 spaces. We'll be dragged in to parking issues. People will be parking in other people's spots in the lane behind, and it'll be a policing nightmare for us from here on in.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Can you tell me the age of that building? Perhaps maybe what year it was built?
Does anyone have that information?
Through Mayor Ropp, I would be skeptical to comment from a staff perspective because our data for older structures is largely based on what MPAC has reported. But I will maybe defer that over to the applicant as they may have a better idea there.
Yes, at the moment, I believe when we first looked into this building, it was in the early 60s and 50s or late 50s. I would have to double check and respond back later on a later date.
Would that be 1850?
1950s, early, yes, late 1950s or early 1960s.
I would just mention to you that in the 50s and 60s, I believe there was an appliance shop in there. Like if I remember right, Gray's Appliances was in there. I think it is a little older, but that's something we'll have to find out for you, Counselor. We'll have to get an answer on that. Any other questions, comments from this? From the committee? Seeing none, I would just add to the parking that it's already an issue on this street for lack of parking. And I think I'd love to see, and I've talked with the planner on this, I'd love to see a more wholesome plan or solutions that we can come up with for parking for these apartments. And I think it's going to take some collaboration through maybe a few of the owners over there to work together to see if we can't find a solution to it. So to add another 10 units is something that's going to be very tough to do in the present state. I would like to see something happen with that parking for sure. If there's no other comments, we do have a recommendation, and that recommendation is to defer this for more solutions. Councillor Daigle, Councillor Nerda, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, our next one is a notice of public meeting to consider application MV 03-2026 Duchess Ave and Park Hill King Street. Do we have the applicant here? Did you want to come up, sir? Good evening. Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you, Chair Ropp. So I'm just going to zoom in on the picture here in hopes that you can see it a little bit better. So the minor variance is for the subject lands located at the northwest intersection of Park Hill, King Street, and Duchess Avenue in Park Hill. So it's just at the end of King Street here up from the municipal office. A 911 address is in the process of being approved currently, but the lands are locally known as what used to be a former concrete facility. The lands are approximately 1.74 acres in size, and they currently contain an industrial shop that's approximately 2,800 square feet in size. So I did attach these site photos for council in advance just to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at. So the lands are surrounded by industrial uses to the east, agricultural uses to south and west, and a recreational trail to the north. There are also low-density residential uses in the surrounding area that do not directly abut the subject lands, with the closest point of intersection being approximately 240 feet with mature trees in between. So when I say closest point of intersection, I mean from the corner of the office addition to the corner of the next closest dwelling. So the applicant's proposing to construct a 538 square foot addition. So it'll just be on this end of the building here where you see my cursor, and then where the blue outline is here on the map. So they require zoning relief to do this, as technically Duchess Avenue here, this is the front lot line, and they require front yard setback relief from the municipal road allowance. So 5 meters is proposed, equating to a difference of 7 meters from the required 12. And this works out to about a 23-foot difference. The subject lands are designated as an industrial area in the municipality's official plan, and they are zoned as industrial M1. The applicable policies are outlined in detail in my report, so I'm not going to reiterate them word for word, as we would be here for hours. However, I would note that generally speaking, industrial uses and economic development are supported within settlement areas, provided the sites function, are connected to municipal services, and maintain land use compatibility. The application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and comments received are outlined in detail in my report, as well as the attachments to the agenda. The Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority, Bell Canada, Canada Post, Integris, the Lake Huron and Elgin Area Water Supply System, the county engineer, and the chief building official, as well as the deputy chief, as well as the municipality's drainage superintendent, noted no concerns. County Emergency Services did just note a standard 911 addressing, confirmation, as well as the municipality's Director of Infrastructure and Operations noted a servicing agreement is required to extend municipal services to this property. So I would just add that regardless of this minor variance, that servicing agreement and 911 addressing is required. No public comments were submitted prior to the report deadline. However, we did receive one written submission after the deadline that was circulated to the committee by Anne Marie Stewart, who is the property owner of 113 Mill Street. So just north of the property here. Concerns noted were around light pollution, should security lights be added to the north and east side of the building, as well as noise and outdoor storage potential. So I would note that in response to those comments, outdoor storage and noise disturbances are something that's generally governed by your bylaw enforcement if it does become an issue. In regard to lighting, this property is set back quite a bit from the neighboring residential properties to the north, with the industrial uses pre-existing the closest residential dwelling that was constructed in approximately 2015 at 113 Mill. And I would just note that the structure is not getting any closer to the residential properties than what currently exists. So I would add that if the committee wishes to include a lighting condition, it needs to be specifically for the scope of this minor variance application, which would be applying it specifically to the office addition that's proposed. So it is staff's opinion that the application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance under the Planning Act, which I did detail in my report. Conditions regarding 911 addressing, a servicing agreement, and the status of the Duchess Avenue road allowance have been included. And again, these are just all standard and would be required regardless of a minor variance application. So to simplify my analysis, I will say that staff have reviewed the applicable policies, the location of the lands and surrounding land uses, and all comments provided for feedback. And we are recommending that the variance be approved with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. At this time, was there anything you'd like to add?
Hear me okay? Thanks, everybody, again for your time. So I'd maybe just like to speak to the letter of opposition that was received after the deadline. So they cited three specific concerns. One of those being the security lighting. And it was sort of a hypothetical if we were to put lighting on the north side of the building. We've had the property for a year now. We haven't put security lighting on the north side of the building. I loathe light pollution as much as anyone. And I think there's appropriate bylaws in place that would address that if it was an issue. We have no intention of putting lighting on that side of the building, certainly not toward the residential. And then there was, they expressed some concern about storage of materials outside. And I don't think that concern was connected to the actual construction of the addition. I think that was just a comment on the property. I think you can see from the photos and certainly over the last year since we've owned the property, we've done nothing but improve the state of it. The bylaw allows for 75% of the footprint of the property to be used for outdoor storage. We maybe use 5% at this point. So I think there's a bylaw in place that addresses that. And I just don't see that being an issue. And then the hours of operation, we are a landscape construction company. Our start time is 7 a.m. Occasionally, we're starting trucks, hitting the road at 6:30. I think that's pretty well within kind of standard operation for a construction company. And as Ashley noted on the overhead map there, there's a pretty significant buffer between us and the residential property. The addition would actually improve that buffering, as it would sort of further close that opening to the residential area from our yard. And again, I think with the noise issue, certainly we always want to be good neighbors. And I think there are bylaws in place that address that concern. If it is a concern, I think that can be addressed. And I don't think the approval of the addition really bears any change on that sort of operation, I guess. Is there anything?
I would also know we live at 121 Mill Street, so we live right there by the property, so
So we,
we're
we're-
looking to improve things, not create.
and we're familiar with the joys and challenges of living next to industrial property.
Okay, thank you. At this time, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this application? I'll ask once more, anybody in the public who wants to speak on this? Seeing no one, I'd turn this over to the committee for comments, questions. Councillor Canellison?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I want to congratulate you, and I'm pleased to see something happening with our industrial site there. And I specifically want to talk about the noise that you talked about starting trucks, but that's the former Lafarge yard, was it not?
That's right.
And you were living there for a number of years, so I'm assuming some of Lafarge trucks are starting pretty early as well.
And mixing batches of concrete.
And I don't think it's an issue at that time.
That ground, the batch mixing ground out the trucks.
Right.
They're 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, good luck.
Thanks.
Other questions? Go ahead. Okay. Moved by Councillor Irwin, seconded by Councillor Nerda. And just before I ask, I agree that you have cleaned up the site. I was looking at it again this morning and you're improving the site. That's always good to see.
Thank you.
So all in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next item of business, notice of public meeting to consider application B01 2026 ZBA dash 02 2026 located at 35655 Hutchison Road. And do we have the applicant here for that? Do you want to come up?
I believe the agent is also online.
Oh,
He's
the
in
agent's
waiting room.
online?
Yeah. Paul Hendricks is there.
Is the agent there now? Okay, we're good to go? All right, go ahead, Ash.
Perfect. Thank you. So the subject lands are municipally known as 35655 Hutchinson Road, and they're located south of Greenway Drive, also known as County Road number 5 on the west side of Hutchinson. So the entirety of the property is in the yellow outline there, and then the property that's subject to the surplus farm dwelling severance from the existing 100-acre farm parcel is just outlined in red. So I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. So the severed parcel is proposed to have a frontage of approximately 57.5 meters on Hutchinson Road and an area of approximately 2 acres. It would retain the residential dwelling, a drive shed, and a former bank barn now used for personal storage and a kennel that would be converted both to residential accessory structures. There is currently one silo on the severed parcel that will be required to be removed as a condition of the consent. The severed parcel is currently serviced by the municipal water system and a privately owned septic, which will both be maintained. And there is an existing driveway access to Hutchinson that is also proposed to be maintained. So I'm just going to pull up some site photos I took just because I find it gives a little bit better context. So this is off to the side view. So you can see the old bank barn that's proposed there. There's the silo out back. And then when you're looking at it straight on from the road there, it's really hard to see that barn, but it is back there. And then the old drive shed. So the severed parcel as part of the process would also be rezoned to a site-specific agricultural small holding exception zone, which would be number 46. This would recognize the rural residential use of the lands and additionally would allow those 2 buildings that are accessory to the principal dwelling to remain as they exist today, provided they are converted to residential accessory structures and are no longer classified as agricultural buildings. Again, the silo does have to be removed. For the drive shed, a maximum height of 7.5 meters would be permitted, and the former bank barn, a maximum height of 9.1 meters. These would specifically apply for the structures as they exist today, meaning that if they are removed, demolished, or destroyed, any new building would have to comply with the maximum height permitted in the bylaw, which is 6.5 meters. The application also seeks to implement a temporary use zoning permission on the severed parcel to allow an existing kennel within a portion of the former bank barn there on the subject lands, and this would allow it to remain for a period of 3 years. Council may, by bylaw, grant further periods of not more than 3 years during which the temporary use is authorized, but is not obligated to grant these farther extensions. Upon expiry of the temporary use provision, the kennel would no longer be permitted, and the use would have to be removed from the property. The retained parcel is proposed to have a broken frontage of approximately 349.5 meters on Hutchinson Road, and it would be approximately 98 acres in size. It would predominantly or solely contain agricultural lands and crop production as they exist today. The retained parcel is also proposed to be rezoned to prohibit a residential use on the lands, which is something that is required by the provincial planning statement and both the county and municipalities' official plans. So again, the applicable policies are outlined in detail in my report, and I would note that generally speaking, surplus farm dwelling severances list criteria, and with this application, they do appear that they will be met so long as the conditions of the consent are implemented as proposed by staff. The application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act and no concerns were noted. Standard comments were provided from emergency services, the drainage superintendent, and so on, and no comments were provided by members of the public prior to the submission of this report. So for the reasons outlined in my report, staff recommend that the consent be approved with the conditions outlined, which are all standard conditions for a surplus farm dwelling severance, and that the zoning be approved in principle with the bylaw brought back once the reference plan is received. So staff are satisfied that both the consent and zone amendment are appropriate and are of the opinion that the applications are consistent with the provincial planning statement and conform to the Middlesex County and North Middlesex official plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Is there anything you'd like to add at this time? No?
Council,
Okay.
if I may.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Council, I apologize, I can't be there in person. But for the record, it's Paul Hendricks here via Zoom. And I just wanted to advise Council, I've reviewed the proposed conditions and zoning bylaw prepared by my friend, the planner, and we're satisfied.
Okay, thank you. So I have to ask again, is there anyone in the public, anybody attending that would like to speak on this application? Ask again, anybody who'd like to speak on this application? Seeing no one, turn it over to the committee. Questions, comments? Councillor Keel,
I think this is pretty straightforward. Make a motion.
you're making a motion to accept? Seconded by Councillor Irwin. Any other questions on this? Councillor Canals, you got a question?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I thank you. My question is for the planner, and it has to do with the barn that's currently used as a kennel. And it says temporary use, and upon expiry, the kennel is no longer permitted on lands, building structures cannot continue to be used for temporary use. If it expires, does that mean that the barn has to come down?
Through Mayor Ropp, so no, the barn wouldn't have to come down. It would just no longer be able to be used for that kennel purpose. So
But it can be used for other things.
correct, yes, personal storage, that sort of thing, just not agricultural or kennel.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question here. Septic system out front of this house? Yeah. Okay, that's, okay.
Yes.
I figured out, but just confirming it. On the second one too, as we know, we talked, the silo has to come down. I don't know whether it's being consistent, but in the past, I'm not saying that we asked that these barns be made sort of like all water and hydro has to be eliminated from them. Just the old bank barn, not the shed.
Through Mayor Ropp, so it depends on the condition of the barn and what the building official recommends. There are certainly instances where that has occurred, but there's also been instances where they've maintained a hydro connection. So really leave it up to the expertise of the CBO.
Okay, thank you. And so this has to be in two motions. The first motion, which we have moved, is to permit consent, and the second was on the zoning. All right, so on the first one to approve, all in favor? Carried. And the second for the zoning bylaw, Councillor Nerda, Councillor Keough, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you. Our next item is a notice of public meeting to consider application ZBA 11-2025 located at 35661 McGuire Road. And Paul, I believe you're in for this one as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Ashley, go ahead.
Correct, thank you. And I do see the property owners here as well.
Oh, the owner's here? Would you like to come forward? Oh, okay, okay. You're paying Paul to do the talking? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. So the subject lands for this rezoning application have a municipal address of 35661 McGuire Road, located north of Adair Drive on the west side of McGuire, and surrounding uses are predominantly agricultural in nature. The purpose of this application is to fulfill a condition of the surplus farm dwelling severance that the committee granted provisional approval within the past 6 or so months. And the application will rezone the severed parcel to a site-specific agricultural small holding to recognize the rural residential use of the lands and to recognize an increased height of a former silo that's now used as a decorative landscaping feature. So I'm just going to pull up the images here for context to give you. So the amendment would include specific wording restricting the silo to be used for decorative purposes only and would not permit the structure to be used for any other purpose, including agricultural use. Additionally, the height relief would only apply to the existing silo on the severed parcel, and it would not permit the construction of a new silo or replacement of what is there. Should it fall into a state of disrepair, essentially it would have to be removed. Additionally, the application also proposes to rezone the retained parcel to a site-specific general agriculture zone to prohibit the establishment of residential dwellings as required by the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, and the North Middlesex official plan. So policy context is provided in detail in my report. In my opinion, this is a relatively straightforward application. The application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and no comments were received from members of the public or agencies noting any concerns, and staff are recommending that the bylaw be approved and passed with all 3 readings this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Anything the applicant would like to add? I don't know who's going to speak. Paul, are you speaking on this?
Yes, council, I'll speak. By all means, if my clients wish to state anything, they're welcome to, but I don't think it would be necessary in this case. I have reviewed the proposed zoning bylaw and we're satisfied with the language.
Okay, thank you. At this time, once again, I'll ask if there's any public that would like to speak on this application. Anyone who'd like to speak on this? Seeing no one, I'll turn it over once again to the committee. Questions on this? No questions? Moved by Councillor Daigle, seconded by Councillor Nerda. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. That is our last planning application. We need a motion to go out of committee adjustment, return to regular meeting. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Our next is Damon Optimal Program Update on a delegation. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, and community members. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. My name is Marcia DeGao, and I am the Clinic and Facility Director of Damon Optimal Health and Fitness, which operates out of the HMS Insurance Center, also known as the North Middlesex Arena, under lease agreement with the municipality. Damon Optimal Health Team moved into this space approximately 18 months ago, rebranding ourselves as Damon Optimal Health and Fitness to not only continue operating as a successful multidisciplinary health center, but to also assume operation of the municipality's fitness facilities and gym memberships. We couldn't be happier in our new location. With our newfound space, we have been able to expand our healthcare services to include physiotherapy, chiropractic, massage therapy, acupuncture, osteopathy, psychotherapy, naturopathic medicine, and more. In turn, we've been able to help so many more residents in our own community, as well as those visiting from afar, to access some of our unique services, including pediatric physiotherapy, neurorehabilitation, vestibular therapy, infant oral palate assessment, women's health, including pelvic therapy, and custom orthotics. We continue to receive daily referrals from our local physicians and hospitals, as well as dentists, optometrists, and many remote physicians due to those unique rehabilitation services that we do offer. And we value those working relationships we have built with so many healthcare professionals, both near and far. In regards to our fitness center, we've been able to significantly grow gym membership numbers and have kept membership pricing affordable with low-income assistant options available as needed. We've offered a variety of fitness classes, including cycling and TRX, held multiple running groups, and proudly offer specialized health practitioner-led sessions such as clinical Pilates and yoga, and motor development sessions for our WE clients, which have all been community favorites and very well attended. We are proud to continue to partner with Inspire Culture, offering personal training for young and old alike and all ages and abilities. In collaboration with Cole and his team of Inspire Culture, we also offer group training and sports-specific dryland training sessions for sports teams. Working in our own community, we couldn't be prouder to give back to our own community. We've been active supporters of many local events and initiatives, including the Bogline Smoke Show, our town's Family Day events, the annual Park Hill Fair, local golf tournaments, multiple sporting events, and area school events and fundraisers, to name a few. In collaboration with the municipality, we also hosted Elsie Craig's first movie night, which was a lot of fun for all of us involved and a huge success. One of the community partnerships we are most excited about is that of our local hockey teams. As gold sponsors for the minor hockey North Middlesex Junior Stars and the newly formed Asable Coyotes, we've had a lot of fun this year working closely with these teams. We kicked off their season by conducting free baseline concussion screening and functional movement analysis for all players, as well as team concussion, gym orientation, and safety education workshops. We also had the pleasure of supporting their hockey development both on and off the ice by providing them with complimentary gym memberships to use throughout their hockey season and biweekly dryland training sessions with Inspire Culture, our personal and team trainers. We've also ensured timely access to our in-clinic assessment and rehabilitation services for any injuries or concussions sustained throughout the season, as safe return to sport and activity is always our top priority. And we couldn't be more convenient being located right in the arena. As Damon Optimal Health and Fitness, at Damon Optimal Health and Fitness, we are passionate about health and wellness and make it our goal to inspire our community to be more active and support them in their health journey. With this in mind, this past year, we've hosted a variety of free to our community health and well-being workshops, including sessions on women's health, nutrition, and exercise. We continue to work with our local sports teams, as just mentioned earlier, and are connecting more with our community seniors who want to maintain their mobility and overall well-being with customized gym programs. I'm excited to share that being conveniently located in North Mid High School's backyard, we've actually experienced a recent influx in high school students coming to use our gym, both after school and during their spare periods. And we've been invited into our local elementary schools to support their health and education programs by providing them with in-class presentations on the human body, science, and general health and well-being classes. Outside the classroom and fitness center, we are reaching our greater community with weekly social media posts varying from education and general health and wellness, mental health and physical well-being, lifestyle tips such as avoiding injury from day-to-day activities such as snow shoveling, and of course, cheering on our local sports teams, as well as supporting any other special events that may be happening in our community. So what's next? Well, as the warmer weather approaches and spring and summer draw near, we are looking forward to working with the North Middlesex baseball teams in a similar fashion as we did with our local hockey teams. We have multiple media posts ready to go supporting our community as they gear up for gardening, soccer, and golf season. And we have spring fitness challenges and contest giveaways planned, including the chance to win small town Throwdown Dallas Smith concerts, as we have purchased a sponsorship package to support our North Middlesex Junior Stars and look forward to rocking along with them right under our common roof on May 31st. A month prior to that, on April 25th, we will once again be supporting local families in their fight against cancer and raising funds in support of the Strathroy Hospice at Community Over Cancer. Currently, within our gym and health center, we are exploring member and patient needs and are looking into increasing group classes and health practitioner-led sessions based on interest. We are also in the process of exploring 24-hour gym access with the goal of improving accessibility and inclusion for all those with altered work schedules, prioritizing physical and mental well-being all hours of the day, and increasing overall gym numbers as a result. With fitness memberships being on a decline everywhere since COVID and the introduction of more home and larger boutique-style gyms, as a smaller rural center, we are proud of how our gym memberships have increased over the past year, but continue to strive towards getting even more of our community members active in the gym, with the goal of making Damon Optimal Health and Fitness a profitable business where we can give back even more. In closing, speaking on behalf of myself and all of us health practitioners and staff at Damon Optimal Health and Fitness, we feel so fortunate to be able to work in such a beautiful facility in the heart of our own community, and are truly passionate about being able to give back within our own community. Each day is rewarding, especially when we receive so many smiles and thank yous and get to hear patient testimonials on how we've possibly made a difference in their lives and personal health journeys. Damon Optimal Health Team is a happy and fun place, full of good energy, and we hear that a lot from our patients and gym members. We love seeing young faces in our facility getting a head start on their commitment to health and fitness, and overall creating happier and healthier kids. And our cups are full every day knowing that our seniors feel at home here, visiting us daily to complete their workouts and ensure they stay healthy and strong. We are extremely proud of what Damon Optimal Health and Fitness has accomplished since our inauguration in the fall of 2024, and we look forward to continuing to serve our North Middlesex community for many years to come. So, in closing, before I go back to my seat, I have a little treat for y'all tonight. Taryn Chan, one of our amazing front desk and gym employees, is also in his last month of school at Fanshawe College for visual effects and editing. And we were lucky enough to have him choose us to complete his final project, which was to produce a short testimonial interview style commercial. So as much as I'm not a fan of seeing myself on video, Taryn said I could share this video with you all tonight. So fresh off the press, this is its debut. Damon Optimal Health is a compassionate place where you can come all under one roof and receive physiotherapy with a practice focus in musculoskeletal and orthopedic injuries, pediatric care, neural rehabilitation, vestibular rehabilitation and concussion, pelvic health and women's health, chiropractic care, including infant oral assessments for feeding purposes, multiple registered massage therapists, naturopathic medicine, osteopathy, and psychotherapy. We also offer our gym to our community for people of all ages and offer personal training as well as group training and team training. We also offer multiple classes. As the director here, I want people to feel welcomed and cared for, not just our patients and our gym members, but also our team members. Having multiple services up under one group is something I think a lot of our patients value, is that we work together, which means physiotherapists assess them and finds that they may also benefit from one of our many services available here. We can refer to each other and work together. I book their appointments, I take their equipment, I also make schedules for the employees here, welcome people when they come in, I check in the gym members, check in the clinic patients. We have our gym area in the back, and then we have our clinic rooms up here in the front. The one thing I hope people take away when they leave this place is that they feel happier, they feel healthier, they feel like they got the help they needed, whether they have clinic or the gym. Yeah, I just hope they feel better. So the reason why I trust this team is because I was able to call at 11 o'clock in the morning one day because my granddaughter, who's a month old, was in distress. And I had no option of trying to get her help. I called Damon and then asked for support. He was gonna granddaughter to see Riley during that time. She spent an hour and 40 minutes with us. I will forever be thankful for that because it was just an amazing care, holds a special place in all of our hearts now because of what she did and the level of care that she went above and beyond to support our family that day. I feel so fortunate every day to be able to go to work in my own community and see a lot of the smiling faces that I know. But we are so welcoming to any faces from afar as well. And we just want everyone to feel welcome. So thank you for supporting us, and we look forward to being here with you guys for many years to come.
So thank you very much for your presentation and for the video as well. That was great. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Nelson.
You knew that I was going to ask something.
Yeah, I did.
Welcome. I really enjoyed your presentation. I read it with a great deal of enthusiasm. I do have a question for you, though. I'm pleased to see that you continue the financial assistance for those of our community members who are financially stressed, and I think it's a good thing. The other thing question I have for you is, what is your membership app? You talked a little bit about it. What is your current membership?
We're currently sitting at around 200 members,
Okay.
which we are quite proud of considering we don't have the specific children's programs like the YMCA used to. We leave that to other members in town. Although we are welcoming family, we have family memberships to welcome anyone age 10 and over to work out in the gym as long as they have parent supervision. And then as mentioned in our presentation, we have a lot of motor development type classes and things to do with our pediatric physiotherapists to get them involved as well. So we're happy with how that has grown. Would we like to see more? Absolutely. So that is our goal going into the future, to add more things that hopefully will draw in more community members.
And looking over your report and your presentation today, you've accomplished quite a bit in the time you've been there. You've been very, very active. And when I come to visit you guys, I see 2 or 3 people there. Who helps you with all this? Do you do all this on your own, or do you have assistants or other people in the background that help you with this, or what?
Just, could you clarify with just build like all the community stuff? Is that
Yeah.
what you're referring to? Yeah. Yeah, we have a great team over there. We have, so Ali is our gym manager. She's a great help. As well as we have a wonderful team of other front desk gym staff that are helping us, that range from high school to university students, as mentioned, Taryn, who's did the video for us today, and Brenda at our front desk. So we've got a great team of gym staff, but then all the health practitioners that I mentioned and health professionals that are part of our team as well. And everybody's local and just wants to be involved and give back as well. So
Okay. Thank you so much, Marcy.
no problem.
Any other questions, comments from council? Seeing no other, I would ask you one thing. You mentioned about a 24-hour.
Yes.
How would that work? Especially the fact that you would have to probably use a lift, I would think, at times.
Yes, so
for
that is,
accessibility.
we're in preliminary talks right
Okay.
now with municipality
Okay.
about whether this is something we could do in the near future. Obviously, there'd be a lot of safety concerns and things that we'd be working out in there. The lift is one of the things that we definitely need to consider. We don't want to make it inaccessible for those that need to use a lift, obviously, but that is one thing that we definitely is one of our main concerns of making this happen.
Okay, thank you, because it's interesting, especially with the people who work shift work. I can see
Exactly,
that
yeah.
that has an interest to it. So if there's no other questions from council, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. We were looking forward to you coming and giving us an update.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So the next item we have department reports. We're going to change it just slightly, and I'm going to ask Neil to do his report first. Because that's the only report he has here tonight. And so it's on the 2025 council remuneration. Whenever you're ready, Neil.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Through Mayor Rob to the council, the council, as per the requirements of the Municipal Act, council remuneration and expenses must be made public by March 31st for the amounts paid directly to or directly on behalf of the mayor and council members for the prior fiscal period. As part of the report, we have the itemized statement on remuneration and expenses paid, which includes the annual salaries of the mayor, the deputy mayor, and council, as well as other expenses. I think the table is fairly self-explanatory. Of note is the fact that expenses totaled for convention and expense recovery was $5,488 with a budget of $9,000. Council members and the mayor are encouraged to participate in conventions and activities that will give them knowledge and capabilities that will better benefit the community. Also of note is the fact that in the upcoming year or in this year, there will be the municipal election. And because of which probably or quite possibly in 2027, the budget of $9,000 may be further pushed as new council members potentially participate in additional activities to better acquaint themselves with the positions and the requirements of such. So therefore, municipal finance staff will be working with the mayor on the mayor's budget to ensure that the budget is appropriate for the 2027 fiscal year.
Thank you, Neil. Just in transparency, I would say that under the mayors, you're looking at conventions. I have the opportunity to use the county coffers to go to conventions. So it does help a little bit on ours, but it doesn't add to that, but I did have that opportunity. So any questions, comments from council on this? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? That is carried. Thanks. Thanks, Dina.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Our next one will go back up to the beginning of Annika, I believe you're. There you are. And this was on the benefit packages. Go ahead, Annika, whenever you're ready.
Thank you to the mayor, members of council, the report award proposal employee brokerage services. Municipality of North Middlesex has retained Select Path as its employee benefit broker since 2014. Services cheated. While this approach was supported, ongoing administration broker services had not performed benchmark against a debt. Given the increasing complexity, staff to review. Staff initiated a competitive RFP process to ensure transparency and accountability, market validation of service and pricing, enhanced service delivery, and ongoing stewardship. The RFP was issued in partnership with Middlesex Procurement Services. Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Whenever you're ready again, Annika. There we go.
Okay. The RFP was issued in partnership with Middlesex County Procurement Services and closed on January 30th of this year. We received 6 submissions, and with the staff recommendation is that the council award the RFP to Mosley & Mosley Inc. Insurance Agency with a cost saving anticipated within the analysis for Mosley & Mosley, and that the municipal chief administrative officer be authorized to execute the agreement with Mosley & Mosley Insurance Agency Limited Group. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
All right, questions from council. Councillor Daigle.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Annika, you were told there were 6. Went down to 2, I think, for the final.
Yep.
It says Mosey wanted 52.5 to do the job and then switched to a 3%. Was that kind of allowed also for Select Path?
That I followed the procurement policy, so Mosley was successful. So the bid information is subject to an FOI.
Okay, so
if I may, each was compared on the same apples to apples comparison. So that they were each valued at that same rate. And then as far as premiums go, the reduction that we received as a result of going with Mosey was seen as the 3%, correct? I think the wording on here is a little confusing, but there was an apples to apples comparison, and we're receiving a 3% reduction as a result of going with Mosey.
what when it says it came in at 52.5 and now they're willing to do it for 10,242, I'm a little leery.
So that would be the amount that it's costing us with the 3%. So that'll get paid throughout the process. Now there'll be an initial savings once they do the analysis on top of that, which is typically going to be about 5 to 10% of what we'll see of what we're currently paying.
Follow up, I'm looking at the report. We're dealing with, I think, significant amounts of dollars. But it never went in front of the finance department. There's no, where it went through the finance department's all, it just says it was prepared by Annika and approved by Carolyn. I thought we had professional accountants on staff just to make sure we're covered.
Okay.
It is our typical practice, and it did go through procurement through the county for sure. But you are correct. The process normally of where reports go through the treasurer was not quite followed on this one. But certainly the treasurer is aware of it now.
Other questions, comments on this? No other questions or comments? Councillor Irwin?
Just one, your worship, through you. So how much are we saving?
Right now, it's just a cost savings of about 5 to 10%, especially once they do the analysis, there'll be even more. Along with ourselves and other municipalities that have started to join Moseley & Moseley, they have a different consortium. So the rates are about a lot more negotiable than what we haven't done in the last decade with Select Path.
Councillor Nerda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But what is a savings of 5 to 10%? Do we know that number?
No, not at this time.
Other questions? Okay. No other questions. We have a recommendation in front of us. What's your wish? Okay. Is there a seconder on that? Second by Councillor Nerda. Discussion on it? Okay, go ahead.
Question, Mayor, are we just looking for a number? Or do we need a report back on this?
Well, I think we need to know what we're what the three. We got to know what we're saving. We're being told, well, it could be this much, could be more, could be less.
Okay, I'm just looking.
That's all I'm worried.
I'm just looking for clarification.
Yep.
I think that we do have a number. I think the reluctance is in the information that's provided that we don't provide is coming from procurement, correct?
Yeah.
Because Annika does have a number, and certainly she was reluctant to share it from concerns raised to her from procurement. But I think that it could easily be provided to council outside of a public session, just because of the nature of the business. The exact numbers were not to be made quite as public in the only as a percentage. Am I accurately describing
Yeah,
that?
100% to that.
Okay. Councillor Irwin, you had a question.
It might have been answered, your worship, but I'll ask it this way. There is no negative consequence for deferring this for one council meeting, is there? There's no time limit to this?
We would be paying a higher premium right now at this point with Select Path. So to determine the exact amount, we would have to make Moseley & Moseley our agent of record to even determine the exact to a T amount that you want to know about. So in order to do that, I would need the authorization today.
Okay.
Otherwise, pay more.
Okay.
I've just asked, we're deferring it potentially for 2 weeks, right? That's
Right.
all we're potentially deferring
Yep.
it for.
Okay. Any other comments on it? Any other comments on it? We have a motion to defer this and what was the reason for finance to have a look? Is that to report back to council after finance have a look? In favor of that? Opposed? That didn't carry. We're still looking for direction from council here. Moved by Councillor Canelson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins, in favor of the recommendation? Or opposed? 3, it did carry 4-3. Our next item is Joanne. And that is on the additional petitions for drainage works by owners of the Sylvan Acres Drain.
Mayor and members of council, the new municipal drain was accepted by council on November 19th, 2024, and Spreetz Associates were appointed as engineers to this project. Since that time, there have been 5 additional petitions for council. There has been 5 additional petitions for drainage works by owners previously submitted and accepted at council. It has been suggested that the new municipal drain be named Sylvan Acres Drain. As presented in this report, 3 additional petitions for drainage works by owners under Section 4 of the Drainage Act have been received by staff. This project has grown significantly to the west along Bornish Drive between Kerwood Road and Roddick Road. To date, there are 8 petitions for drainage work by owners on this project. The proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 27 of 2026 regarding the additional petitions for drainage works by owners for the municipal drain, Sylvan Acres, requested by Delegata Farms Incorporated, Benjamin Rollins, and Chunky Farms Limited for information, and that council receives the petitions for drainage work by owners as additional requests on the new municipal drain according to Section 4 of the Drainage Act.
Thank you, Joanne. Any questions? Councilor Keel?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Joanna, I just have a question, and I've seen this many times as well as you have. The change for or the appointment of an engineer. Is there any particular reason why?
Through the mayor and to Mayor Councilor Kiro, I will answer that in my next report.
That's in the second report, I think.
All right, then. Thank you.
Any questions on this report? No, none on this report? No problem. All right. Motion by Deputy Mayor Hodgins to accept the recommendation, seconded by Councilor Nerda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, now go ahead, Joanne, your second. And that's on the Kenneth Drain number 3 request change of engineer.
Yep.
You're ready now. Go ahead.
Mayor and members of council, a petition for drainage works from owners was submitted by Ken Valley Farms Limited for a new municipal drain, which was received by council on September 22nd, 2025. At that same meeting, R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated was appointed as engineer to the project. This municipal drain is called Kenneth 3, and it is proposed along the back of Ken Valley's farm and abuts to Roddick Road. As explained in my previous report, the new Sylvan Acres drain has expanded to include more properties to the west of the original petitioner. Spreetz Associate is the engineer working on this project. Since the new Sylvan Acres drain will be outletting into the Kenneth 3 drain, we are proposing that these projects have the same engineer. Staff feels that having one engineer to work on both simultaneously is of benefit to both new municipal drains. Both engineer firms are in agreement. I have also spoken to the landowner who has no objections. The proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 28 of 2026 regarding report DIO 28/2026, the Kenneth Drain 3 report. Request the change of engineer for information, and that council changes the engineer firm from R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated and appoints Spreet Associate Limited as engineer to the project.
Thank you, Joanne. Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Joanne. That's clear. There just wasn't enough pictures or an arrow pointing downward to the next. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Has Josh done any preliminary work in this? And if they switch it over to Spreetz, are they starting from scratch again on this, or is there going to be some, if Josh has done some, is he willing to, here's what I got done, and go from there?
Yes, for the mayor and Deputy Mayor Paul Hodgins. Josh has done some report work on this. He has not done any surveying, so he is going to just pass his notes over to Spreetz. They've talked about this already, and costs will just roll over to the new drain.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Seeing no other questions, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councilor Keel, Councilor Daigle. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Joanne. And congratulations, Kristen. Our next one, Sam, is yours, the Mount Carmel Reservoir Reconstruction Contract Awards.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and to you and all the members of council. Before you this evening is report DIO 24 of 2026, which seeks to award the construction tender award and the construction administration and contract observation award under the same cover. If council will recall, at the last meeting, we went through the transfer payment agreement for the funding that we are receiving from the province for this project. And at that same time, I had mentioned that we went through the public tender process and we're here tonight to award the project. So key highlights you'll note in my report, and I somewhat summarized the project that we're going to be doing again, is that obviously the Mount Carmel Reservoir is a significant project for North Middlesex. It does supply water to quite a bit of our municipality, which includes Park Hill, portions of the McGillivray Ward, West Williams system, and it's obviously been flagged as needing replacement based on its aging condition. Again, detailed design was completed by Dillon Consulting, and we conducted a competitive tender process, which the results you will find in my report. We received 6 compliant bids. The lowest compliant bid we received was submitted by McGill Construction Canada, Inc. in the amount of $3,849,835.27, which excludes HST. And you'll note that Dillon's cost to complete the contract administration and construction observation comes in at an upset limit cost of $288,520, which also excludes HST. You'll note in my report that previously staff and Dillon had estimated that we thought the project would cost roughly around $5.5 million. Good news is it obviously came in quite a bit under budget. But again, you'll note in my report that the way the funding works is that we are to receive up to that $4 million amount. So because we're under budget, the province is still obviously only providing 73% of what those total numbers are. And then the municipality's portion is obviously the remaining percentage of on top of that 73. So you'll note that the numbers that I provided in this report here would have been somewhat different from what you've seen previously, only because we're lower than what we projected we would be, but still because we're subject to that 73% split with the province. Again, you'll note in my report that awarding this contract at this time through this council meeting, and then subject to the TPA being done. And with the schedule that I had mentioned to council previously, staff's intention is that we would start construction of this project roughly within the next month and a half. So our plan is that pending award, we will put up our construction signage, which is a requirement of the TPA, which has to be done about a month and a half or 90 days before construction starts. But we plan to have a kickoff hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and then we plan to hit the ground running hopefully by May. There is a very large coordination required with the Lake Huron folks because of the bypass that we need, and because more or less there can't be any shutdowns while we do this work. So we've met with Lake Huron. They're more than willing to work with us, which is excellent news. So what we plan to do is we want to start the project in May. There's a couple months worth of work that we can do without needing Lake Huron. So we're going to try and do roughly a May, June, July-ish without needing Lake Huron. And then we'll go into shutdown mode with Lake Huron, which will be roughly 2 months. So we hope to start in about May, and then we plan to be wrapped up hopefully by September, October at the latest. So it will be a lot and it will be a lot of work, but the good news is the project is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So from an impact perspective, we're not dealing with a bunch of properties adjacent or anything like that. It's contained obviously within its own site, and the coordination aspect, we're going to limit exactly to only when we need it and get as much work done as we can before we need to actually do that. So the recommendations before council this evening, and then I'll open it up for any questions, are that council receive report DIO 24 of 2026 regarding the Mount Carmel Reservoir Reconstruction Contract Awards for information, and that the tender received from McGill Construction Canada, Inc. for the tendered price of $3,849,835.27, excluding HST, be accepted, and that Dillon Consulting Limited be authorized to carry out contract administration and construction observation services for the project at an upset limit of $288,520, excluding HST, and that the mayor and clerk and staff be authorized to sign the associated contract documents. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. Questions from council? Councilor Knellison.
Thank you, Mayor. Sam, where does this McGill company originate from?
Through your worship to the councillor, they are from London.
And they've done this type of work in the past, and we're familiar with it?
They have, yes.
Okay. The other question I have for you is that in the past, these type of projects have been significant cost overruns due to change orders. Who's responsible for these change orders? Is it the municipality? Is it the engineering firm? Or is it the construction company? How do these change orders come about and how can we eliminate them?
So through your worship to the councillor, I'll just preface by saying that we did add a sizable contingency to the project. So if anything unforeseen does come up, we did carry contingency to deal with that. I would say that to the base of your question, it would be subject to who may or may not have made a mistake. If it was something that we missed as part of design, it would likely be the municipality that would have to pay for it, which again would theoretically come out of the contingency. If it was an area where someone made a mistake, i.e. the engineers, then that would be a cost that they would have to deal with. Same thing goes for CACO, the contract administration. Again, if there's an error made on that end, that would be costs that they would cover internally. That's not something that we would pay for. So we carried extra money for if there's anything missed, but that would be all we would theoretically be on the hook for.
So if I understand your response correctly, the design of the structure was completed in-house?
No, it was done by Dylan Consulting.
So if Dylan has shortcomings in the design and there has to be a change order to compensate for their lack of design, would it not be Dylan to be responsible for the change order?
Through your worship, the councillor, so it's a bit of a gray area. Ultimately, the municipality approves the design before it goes to tender. So Dylan would likely just say, well, you approved it, so it's partial on you. My response would be that we rely on them as the experts, obviously, so there's certainly a shared responsibility there. Any design issues I ever see, I always push that's why we hire them. Whether we pay for all of it or they pay for all of it is part of the discussion, but it's not something that I think we would be on the hook for entirely.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Thank you, Mayor Rock. Not that we need to see them, but is there any site plans to show, like, number one, the construction of this? Are we containing the water with steel tanks, or is it a big cement vault? What's it consist of?
But through your worship to the deputy mayor, so I guess two things. One, I'm happy to provide all the tender documents and drawings we have to council. That's something I will do after this meeting. Second to that, though, I have talked with Felicia about communications because this is obviously a big project for us. We do plan on doing a fair amount of public communications, which will include obviously what the project is, what's going to happen, pictures, that kind of stuff. So I'll happily share all the drawings and that sort of thing, but there will be lots of public things going out that will have a lot of that too.
Okay. Councillor Daigle.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, Sam, you said there's large contingencies. Is that part of the tender document? So McGill's already put that contingency, everybody has put their, it's because it's a percentage of their cost. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we have a recommendation, and that is for both the contract and for the engineering approvals. Councillor Irwin, Councillor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. And Sam, you have another one, the annual drinking water report.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And to you and all the members of council, before you this evening is report DIO 25 of 2026, which it provides the annual drinking water report for the North Middlesex system. Key highlights of my report you'll notice that in accordance with Ontario Regulation 170.03 under the Safe Drinking Water Act, it's a requirement that this report go before council to receive and accept before the end of March of every calendar year. So you'll see that that is why this report is obviously in front of you this evening. Again, you'll note key highlights in my report. The municipality remains compliant with the regulation. There was no non-compliances issued or identified during the 2025 reporting year. There was one adverse water quality incident which occurred and was appropriately reported to the ministry with no ongoing concerns or any issues identified coming from that. There was no compliance issues that were identified by the ministry. It was noted in the report that total system flows decreased by approximately 5.7% compared to 2024, which continued a trend that we saw last year, where it decreased again beyond that, which I think speaks to the efforts that are being put towards water loss and how we are certainly seeing a positive there. And I know council might ask, based on the last council meeting, that is something that staff are actively working on. So we will look to report on that water loss piece separately in the very near future. And then again, you'll note as per requirement of the OREG, the drinking water report has been made publicly available on our website. And then if anyone comes into the office or would like to see it, we can make it publicly available to them as well at that time. So the recommendations before council this evening on this report is that council receive report DIO 25 of 2026 regarding the annual drinking water report for information, and that council receive the appended annual drinking water report prepared by the Ontario Clean Water Agency. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Questions for Sam on this? No questions? Okay. We need a recommendation. Counselor Daigle, Counselor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Felicia, you're next, and that is on the Community Engagement, Community Development Fund Program.
Thank you, and to Mayor and members of council, in front of you is report DDCS 04 of 2026, labeled Community Development Fund Program. So just a quick background, the Community Development Fund Program provides an opportunity for new and existing organizations to apply for funding to support programs, events, or projects that benefit the community. Many of these organizations in North Middlesex are volunteer run and have been active for many years, providing valuable services and hosting events that residents, families, and visitors alike enjoy. So the committee met December 15th of 2025, and approval letters were sent out early last week or the week prior. So the staff recommendation for this report is that council accept the report titled DDCS 04 2026 Community Development Fund Program, and that council approves the recommended allocations and direct staff to facilitate the disbursement to successful groups. And I'm here for any questions.
Thanks, Felicia. Just before I turn it over to questions, I will just say I apologize that it's as late. This is later than normal, and we'll fix that process going in for next year so that they get earlier notification. Questions from council? No questions? We have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councilor Nerda, seconded by Councilor Irwin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Felicia. Brandon, you're next, and that's on the agreement with the Elsa Craig Village Association.
So Mayor Ropp, members of council, the report in front of you is a community use agreement with the Elsa Craig Village Association. As you may be aware, the Elsa Craig Village Association provides many services within the community. They also utilize our facility to host their meetings. They use some of our water to fill their flower watering apparatus. And as of late, we have taken on their budget or their flower budget into our operational budget. They also have community grills as well as a few other things. So some of these historical things have not been documented in agreement in the past. In working with the president or chair, I should say, of the Village Association, I came up with an agreement for them. There are a few minor details that they will be going over, but in principle, this agreement is ready and ready to be executed. So we're just going to go over a couple minor details with them, as well as our lawyer, Mr. Samuels, who happens to be joining us here tonight. So I'll be careful not to say anything too negative about him. But yeah, the agreement just kind of ties a bow on everything we've been doing together. That's been quite successful in helping that community. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Yeah, I would just confirm to what you said. Councilor Irwin and I were at that meeting last night, and there was a little bit of verbiage there that they would like to see cleaned up before, everybody would sign. But so I think that's
so
reasonable.
Certainly we will work with David on that. So
okay. Questions from council? Comments from council? Seeing none, Councilor Irwin?
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Councilor Irwin, seconded by Councilor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Committee reports. Is there any committee here that wishes to report instead of going through them? Councilor Keel, go
I
ahead.
do just have one. Is most of you may or may not know that the Oneida Nation of the Thames has been under a boil water advisory for several years now, and they had requested, and the partners of the Lake Huron Water Systems had offered, and it was a matter of bringing them clean drinking water. anyhow, that feat has finally been joined, and construction's to start within the next year and be tidied up so that they'll have sustainable drinking water and for emergency services as well. The pipeline ends at Mount Bridges, so it's just a short jaunt to take it down to the Oneida Nations. But anyhow, it's a success story. Many hurdles and many organizations had to go through.
Yeah.
But the criteria's all been met. So
That's good to hear. They've been looking for it for a long time.
they have.
That's awesome. Well done. Councillor Nelson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Rob. Yes, the Asalva Bayfield will be holding their partnership appreciation dinner next Thursday, March 26th. Okay, if anyone would like to attend, to please contact Abby and let them know that you'd be interested in attending. They are initiating a partner appreciation that's been in business for like 80 years. And so for the next several months, they each partner will be given some appreciation for each decade. So I guess, you know, it started way back in 1946 or something, I guess, or whatever. So we may get one. I don't know. Okay. But the first one will be handed out on Thursday. Chair Ray Chartrand remains as chair. We felt it was best to continue given all the challenges that the Conservation Authority will be facing. I respectfully declined to sit as vice chair because I don't think I'll be here for the next term. So Dave Marsh, who's a councillor from Lambton Shores, is now the vice chair. Okay. And further to that, I also think that Chief Jones has something he'd like to say about the fire committee.
Go ahead.
Through the mayor to the councillor, thank you, sir. May 11th will be the next fire committee meeting. It's going to be held at the Elsa Craig Fire Station. We're going to show off the renovations, the new shower, locker facilities, and then we'll have a short meeting after, hopefully a short meeting. During that time, we will discuss the awards and appreciation event that we're planning, hopefully for September. Like to get this done before this term of council ends. And Felicia and Brandon will be joining us from EDAC and Community Services to assist with that. So look forward to that meeting.
Any questions from them? Go ahead, Carolyn.
Just through your worship to the chief, may I ask if council is all invited for the tour of the fire hall before the meeting? Just as a inquiry.
Yes, through the mayor to the CAO. Yes, I believe so. But I understand that they cannot all stay for the meeting due to quorum reasons. Is that correct?
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on that? Seeing none, is there any other committees that want to report? Councillor Daigle?
Need an motion for approval on those or
Yeah,
to
we'll
accept
need,
them?
no, we don't need motion.
You don't
to
need
approve
those? Then we'll
Okay,
forget
we
it.
don't.
I'm good.
Any business arising from that, Councillor? No.
None.
Okay. Thank you. Any other, Councillor Irwin?
Yes, your worship, this afternoon was the Middlesex County OBP Detachment Board meeting. Councillor Kehoe had a question around bus safety previously. So the OBP has conducted a bus safety blitz from March 2nd to 13th in Middlesex, where they were actually reviewing all the bus stops in our community. There will be an analysis of that data available. And what they'll be doing then is what they call incident patrolling. So the hotspots where they notice trouble, there will be cruisers there in the future. The acting inspector and the chair of the board will be attending here April the 8th. So by then the analysis should be done and you could probably ask questions directly in terms of that. And I will post or provide for council at the next meeting the minutes from the previous meeting and the report that they brought forward to us today, I should say. Thank you.
Any questions from any of that? No. Seeing any other committees that wish to report? Seeing none, correspondence from the Elsa Craig District Lions, a thank you. Note. Other business. Councillor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received a call from a ratepayer who had a significant noise issue coming from a commercial business below them, and they feel that they have no recourse as we don't have a noise bylaw for this type of commercial and residential. And this creates a bigger issue as that we're starting to see more of these come up, as we have one at Mill in Maine with the mixed residential and commercial, and possibly one across the road. And if we don't have bylaws to protect both the commercial and the residential, it creates, I believe, some frustration. So today I'd like to bring a motion, and I have one here, that council directs staff to review and report back on the development of a municipal bylaw, including consideration of appropriate standards and enforcement mechanisms. And such review includes provisions where residential units are located above or adjacent or below a commercial space, as well as general residential areas to address noise disturbance between neighboring properties. And Ashley, if you have anything you would like to add, as I know you and I had a chat this afternoon, regarding this issue.
Thank you. And through you, are you through the mayor to the councillor, are you making that motion? And is the floor open for questions at this time? Or would you like me to?
So there's discussion.
Thank you. I would feel comfortable providing comments now that it has been put on the floor. Thank you, and through you to the councillor and to all members of council. Councillor Narda is correct. We did discuss the possibility and the implications of having a noise bylaw and what currently sits within North Middlesex purview for enforcement. North Middlesex currently does not have a noise bylaw. We have a public nuisance bylaw, and the public nuisance bylaw allows our enforcement officer to fine or investigate instances where things like crude activities or things that would become a bother to the community. It is quite a hard bylaw to enforce because it has to be sight on scene and we have to be there at the exact moment of the incident. We cannot take others' comments, concerns as the act itself. We have to be there to evaluate and then lay the charge. When we do receive comments and concerns about noise, we do direct to the OPP because they are able to attend at much more expansive hours than we are right now with our single officer, and they do have a much larger enforcement toolkit that deals with things that come with noise, such as like loitering or crude activities or drunken disorderly, those sorts of charges that you may find accompany noise. I also would say that noise is also dealt with through landlord-tenant acts, and sometimes the agreement needs to be looked at in what currently exists in your lease. So I would say that if it is council's wish for staff to investigate a noise bylaw, there would be significant reason to believe that we would need increased enforcement staffing, as well as an expansion of our hours, which may have impacts on the union because our officer is union. So I would be happy to investigate if that's the will of council, but that is where the department stands right now. Thanks.
I just had a question on the motion, your worship. I heard residential and commercial, but I didn't hear industrial. Was industrial part of the motion?
Was not, but are you making that amendment?
Well, it could be a friendly amendment on your part.
Then I amend it to include industrial as well.
So.
Questions? Yeah, I just have a question. This proposed noise bylaw, is it going to be for lewd, drunkenness and that kind of thing? Or is this going to be within the hours of business? If a commercial business is conducting business, are they exempt from it? Like, I think we're looking at two different things here. One is a business and residential noise bylaw, and then the other one is kind of an after hours public nuisance bylaw.
Not really following.
Are we just wanting one noise bylaw all the way across the board? Like, I guess what I'm trying to decipher here is we're not trying to institute a noise bylaw for people doing everyday business that a neighbor can say, I find them to be a little bit loud and outside my acceptance of noise level. I don't want to hinder the businesses that are trying to conduct business and have up until this point by instituting or
Right, it'd be more of an
a new
after.
law.
an
Yeah, more of an
after
after hours.
Situation.
That's what I'm getting at. Do you, like,
Sorry, I think what you're saying, because you brought up at the beginning, a resident above a business, the business has to still be able to do their business.
that's right.
And I'm saying, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. That's not appropriate
That's-
times.
No.
I understand that, and that's the part you didn't add. I
Yeah,
think that's
so
why.
that's fine.
Okay. After hours. Councillor Canellison.
I need some clarity on that because we had an application in here this evening about expanding their business and expressed some concerns about some of the people having concerns about the noise and when they start their business in the morning. And are you looking at circumventing that business as well? Because they start premature to some other people's liking?
I could see what your point there, but mine is the after hours of, significant noise at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. That's impacting the residential tenants above these commercial spaces.
I understand your concern, but in the past, we also had a discussion around noise bylaws and it got so far as when people do weekend roofing. Right, and they got their friends over to help them do the roofing. Do they have to stop at 6 o'clock, even though they only got a little ways to go? I think it's fairly complex.
The question is to ask them, asking staff to look at this and to bring back something, correct?
That was my my motion there to just.
That was your motion,
Yeah.
but Councillor Irwin added industrial. Do you wish to continue with the industrial? Because that's what we're looking at over here at King Street.
Said that at the beginning.
Yes.
After Mr. Councillor Irwin brought it up to include both residential, commercial and industrial
Industrial.
Okay,
to that motion.
okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Deputy Mayor Hodges.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just I guess I'm okay with looking at it, but in a past life in another municipality, we went through this again for noise. And then it was sort of like we were told you have to have this special machine that detected the noise and what level of, I'm sorry, if it megahertz that it hit, and if it didn't, and they didn't noise. Most of it was okay. You agree to an outdoor concert that maybe runs to 11 and the band winds her up pretty good about 10, but and it's sort of, I don't like to push it as a noise. It's more of a nuisance bylaw that you contain it that way. It is very, very, very hard to contain a noise bylaw. It's more of a nuisance one, and that's the way Sarah or Councillor Nerd, I would kind of support you on that way, but to call it a noise bylaw, you're gonna have an awful time trying to push that one. Thank you.
Actually, you were wanting to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you to members of council. I believe the point that I was going to bring up at that time has passed. I would echo the deputy mayor's comments and concerns that it would be very hard to enforce, and I believe that the police have the better opportunity to enforce. However, I would like to reiterate that sometimes noise is attempted to be mitigated through land use planning, as well as there are provincial legislations that support industrial or agricultural uses that are existing in town, which is the right to farm. So those are also considerations for council tonight.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
I just wanted to comment to the deputy mayor's comments. I know that I have also been at other municipalities where the attempt was to put in a specific noise bylaw, and the same issue did come up. How do you judge what megahertz is appropriate? How do you determine what the megahertz are? You have to be there when the noise is being made. And oftentimes, once that all happens and you have the proper equipment out there and you're measuring the megahertz, it's rarely exceeded. So that was our experience. And quite frankly, that municipality then went with, as the clerk has suggested, more of a nuisance and did away with their noise bylaw for those reasons. In principle, it sounds like an easy thing to do, but in actuality, it's a very difficult thing to do. And it's usually the activity you're trying to control rather than the specific noise, because it's very rare that you're able to do so. I just want to echo the comments.
Go ahead, Ashley, one more point.
Thank you, and through you and to all of the members of council. I just wanted to share what I shared with Councillor Nerda and how the municipality is responding to these complaints in the absence of a noise bylaw. So currently, we don't have a noise bylaw. We do have the public nuisance bylaw, but we did respond to individual with a concern this way, reassuring them that they could reach out to the OPP. There was some miscommunication there stating that the OPP were unreceptive. So we've taken it upon ourselves to reach out to the detachment commander and kind of smooth over that communication and make sure that we're all on the same page of what enforcement the OPP can do on our behalf, because they are able to apply some parts and provisions of our bylaw, which would include public nuisance. So we've reached out to the OPP. We also reached out to the specific source of the complaint to let them know that we did receive this and kind of did our due diligence there. So that's how the municipality responds to those types of situations in the absence of a noise bylaw.
Okay, if I can, that's what I was wondering about. So we're talking about industry and letting people do business, and I agree with that 100%. But to a person who's got a problem like this, like you're reporting, if the police are saying we're not going, or, they won't attend, what's the recourse? Fight with the person downstairs. That's no good. So we have to somehow make sure, I think that's the big thing, things like that. We have to somehow make sure that we're able to get a handle on that and get control of that situation. Because I understand what you're saying there, but I also know that we're not going to tell Beechwood to close down the mill in the fall when they're taking corn in, because they're receiving corn. So, but so somewhere there, we have to make sure that we cover it. So, John, or Councillor Keel, sorry.
To add to the complexity of this bylaw.
Oh, that's good that you're adding to it.
Yeah, do you want to incorporate barking dog to it as well? Or do we have anything in place? Or Ashley, you're kind of shaking your head as though you don't want to touch that one.
No, thank you, through you and to the counselor. We do have an animal control bylaw. It is also tough to prove the excessive nature of a dog barking, as dogs do bark. However, we do encourage the resident to utilize the log that we have, and if there is there's a defined period in the animal control bylaw to which it would become excessive. However, then it would proceed to the courts and would be handled there.
I think you touched on a tough topic. I really do, Counselor. No, but the issue is tough. We're not trying to stop people from doing business, but we have to. So, but we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor. Do you want to repeat that motion? Or does everybody remember the motion? No? Yeah, you got to repeat the motion. You got to start over. You need your microphone.
One more from the top.
Start over. Yeah.
That council directs staff to review and report back on the development of a municipal bylaw, including consideration of appropriate standards and enforcement mechanisms, that such reviews include provisions where residential units are located above or adjacent or below commercial units, as well as general residential areas and industrial areas to address noise disturbances between neighboring properties.
Okay, that's the motion. We have a seconder on the motion. Right, we have a seconder on the motion. I would point out something like our pub. Is there apartments above the Winnie's, for example? They run different hours, so it'd still have to be within their hours, correct? That should, okay. We have that in favor of that motion. Opposed? 2 opposed, that is carried. So whenever we can get that, we'll get a report back whenever we can, and would that go to, I question for Ashley, would that go to the policy committee first to have a look at before it goes to council?
Something like this, thank you through you to the mayor, something like this would not typically go, but it would be for potentially public consideration. And if it's the will of council, go to policy. So
Okay.
it would typically come back through a staff report for consideration. And if there are fines attached to it, it would have to be then sent to the province for approval from the Attorney General's office and then brought back, put in the newspaper. It's quite an extensive period, but it will be brought back.
I'm feeling your pain, but it will be brought back here, not to council. Okay. All right. Okay. So move, any other business? That was in other business, by the way. Any other business? Councillor Irwin, it better be shorter than the last.
Thank you,
one.
your worship. Perhaps a little less controversial. I've been thinking about this some time and I spoke to you about it earlier and I was happy to hear the deputy treasurer raise his point this evening as well. I do believe that municipal conferences that staff and council goes to are incredibly valuable and a learning opportunity for all of us. I'd like us to mirror what other communities do, where if a staff or a counselor goes to a conference, they bring a report back to council and share it. So we all get to learn from the experience, and I'd like to make that a motion, your worship.
You're making that a motion. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Nerdy, you second that? You don't plan on going to any this year, do you? Okay, conversation on that. Questions or comments on it? Councillor Canellison.
I would like to see what's expected in this report. I mean, I went to this workshop and somebody spoke and we had some discussion on it. Okay. I think it's pretty complex. I think it's a little more complex than just bringing something back. We've been to enough conferences, what do you bring back?
Well, we've all been to meetings where we finish it and we go, I didn't really get anything out of it. There's not much to report in that, but we've also gone to some good meetings and good things that really pertain to North Middlesex. And I think that's what we're looking for. Right, Councillor, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think that's more.
I'll concur, your worship.
Okay. Okay. I don't know of anybody who's going to any soon, but any other questions on this? No? Okay, we have a motion. So all in favor? Four opposed? Two opposed? Correct? Yeah. It's carried. There was 4 for it. There was 4 approved. Okay.
Your worship, may I just ask a question on that? It's for staff direction. So if they attend a conference and if there's something of value of use to bring it back, or just, is that what you're looking for?
Well, if they go to a conference and they don't bring anything back, then maybe we shouldn't have gone to the conference.
Well, we all
like honestly, they're
we all
gonna have something to-
attended the odd workshop where we do shake our head and think we would have been better off.
Absolutely.
I'm not suggesting that happens every time, but it does occur on occasion.
So I'll be honest, if I go into a meeting and it's not what I expected, I step out and I go to plan B. I have a second meeting I want to go to see what, but I think it's not about having a 30-page essay on it. It's just points on anything that can help us. Go ahead, Ash.
Thank you, and through you. I would just like clarity procedurally. The last motion was for council. Is council amending
It
to
was council and staff, I believe.
It was council and staff, your worship.
Yes.
both the deputy clerk and myself recorded the motion for council. The motion recorded is for council. Could I ask for an amendment to include staff?
Oh, I thought he did say in staff, but
I did say in staff, but I
Okay,
will make
make
a
the
friendly
amendment,
amendment
yes.
if that's.
Amended,
what-
yes.
yeah.
okay.
We vote?
No. No way. Any other business? No other business? All right, let's keep moving on here. Pardon me? Yes, that's the next item is communication.
Right, sometimes we just skip over. I just wanted to remind you, I have a question on that. Were you able to talk to anyone at the county about inviting them out to discuss our forestry bylaws?
Yes, and they'll be reaching out to Ashley and to clerks to see about setting that up.
Great, thank you.
I'm guessing it's probably in May. Probably not before, right? Okay. Anything else on that? If not, we need a motion to go into closed And it is for advice that, subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, impending litigation and encroachment. Moved by Counselor Nerda, seconded by Counselor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Let's just take a quick couple of minutes and then we'll come right back.